Hey everyone, and welcome back to another Explainer. Today, we're diving into something really fascinating. We're unpacking a homily by Father Joel Jamar Suskalitus and looking at how some incredibly ancient monastic wisdom, rules written centuries ago, can actually give us a practical real-world blueprint for a happier, more balanced life today. We are going to literally bridge the gap between ancient monastery walls and your everyday routine. Let's get right into it.
So, do you want a better life? You know, it sounds like a simple question, but honestly, a lot of us are walking around feeling, well, kind of confused, or afraid, or just carrying this quiet sense of sadness. We're constantly asking ourselves, how can I just be happier? How can I live better? And if you're feeling that way, trust me, you are absolutely not alone. Father Gamundruis actually hits on this exact human condition before he introduces 3 ancient, completely proven antidotes to all this modern misery.
To get there, we'll start by defining the good life. Then, we'll cover Guide 1, Moderation, Guide 2, Discipline, and Guide 3, Accepting Others, before wrapping up with your next steps.
The good life. Guide 1, Moderation in everything.
Okay, so let's dive into this. Saint Benedict is famous for establishing monasteries, right? But his ancient rules are basically a modern-day toolkit for keeping our sanity. Before we can fix how we deal with the outside world, we have to look inward. And the absolute foundational key to a happy life? It's a balanced life. The core of this first rule is summed up in the Benedictine motto, ora et labora, which means prayer and work. Now, he didn't tell his monks to just pray nonstop, and he didn't tell them to do backbreaking manual labor all day either. It's about balance. Both elements absolutely have to be present. You need that spiritual grounding of prayer and the physical, practical effort of work to maintain a healthy equilibrium.
Because the consequences of excess are super clear. Think about it. If you eat too much, you get sick. If you worry too much, you get a massive headache. Work too much, you burn out. Father Gallicis even jokes that if you gossip too much, your jaw hurts. But seriously, look at that last action. Even doing too much of an undeniably good thing, like, say, constantly volunteering at your church, well, that actually becomes a negative if it means you're totally neglecting your spouse and family at home. Any extreme behavior, even if it's rooted in virtue, can quickly become a vice.
And this brilliantly illustrates the point. Father Gaddis uses this really grounded analogy. Imagine your life is a massive 20-wheeled truck barreling down the highway. If those wheels aren't totally balanced, like if there's way too much weight or pressure on just one side, that truck is going to swerve and inevitably it's going to crash. It's the same for us. Your life requires that exact same careful distribution of energy across your work, your rest, your faith, and your family.
Which brings us to Guide 2, Discipline and Fidelity.
Now, to maintain that internal balance we just talked about, we really have to look at our daily actions. Society is constantly telling us to just follow our feelings, right? But Father Gaius challenges this idea head-on. If you only do good work when you feel like it, if you only study when it's super easy or pray when you're feeling totally inspired, what actually happens? Well, you end up with unfinished goals, broken routines, and basically a stagnant life. Feelings are just incredibly fickle.
I absolutely love this quote from the homily. Mood and feelings are a good servant, but a very bad master. Let that sink in for a second. Emotions are natural, for sure. But warning bells should definitely ring when we start letting shifting emotions dictate our actions. Because if you only act based on your mood, you're actually stripping away your own freedom. You literally become a slave to whatever temporary emotion happens to wash over you that morning.
The monks understood this on a very deep level. It's exactly why they had such strict schedules. You know, a time to wake, a time to pray, a time to eat, a time to work. And they weren't doing this to act like unfeeling robots. They simply recognized the profound truth that both our physical bodies and our spirits require intentional discipline if we want them to thrive. You don't just hope to become a better person. You actually have to work for it through disciplined action, totally regardless of what kind of mood you're in.
Because nobody becomes successful, passes a crazy hard exam, or achieves true goodness just by wishing for it. It takes actual intentional work. As Father Gaddis points out, even Jesus taught that it's by your perseverance that you save your lives, not by your feelings and definitely not by some fleeting moment of inspiration. Success in life and success in character is always built on the solid foundation of habit. You become what you repeat. This is absolutely crucial. When you repeatedly force yourself to do good, when you pray every day, when you choose to forgive every day, when you show up and work hard every day, it eventually becomes an automatic, deeply ingrained part of your character. You won't even have to force it anymore.
That disciplined goodness just naturally becomes who you are.
Moving on to Guide 3, Accepting Others.
So once we have that internal balance and discipline, how do we interact with the external world? Well, the crucial point here is this. When Saint Benedict founded those monasteries, he didn't exactly handpick perfect little angels. His communities were filled with imperfect, stubborn, sometimes lazy, and really difficult people. Yet he loved them all instead of just constantly getting frustrated. You see, so much of our modern misery stems from refusing to accept reality. We constantly try to force our spouses, our kids, our coworkers, or even the whole world to bend to our specific expectations, and man, it is just exhausting.
Now, what's really interesting about this is the mango versus apple analogy. Think about it. A mango can literally never be an apple, and an apple can never be a grape. People are exactly the same way. We all have different natures. You simply cannot force someone to perfectly match that ideal picture you have in your head. Getting angry because a mango doesn't taste like an apple? Well, that's just a recipe for endless frustration.
The homily actually addresses young people who might complain about having really strict or easily angered parents. Father Gadatu suggests flipping the script a bit. Ask yourself, do they have wounds from the past? You know, maybe your parents grew up in a broken home, or they never really experienced true affection themselves. As the old saying goes, you cannot give what you do not have. When we take a second to understand the hidden wounds of others, it makes it so much easier to actually love them.
So true acceptance is really built on a few core pillars. First, love does not compare. Constantly comparing your life to someone else's, or even comparing your country to places like Japan or Singapore, like Father Goddess mentions, that just completely robs you of joy. Second, love does not condemn. Instead, love begins by accepting the truth. Think about it. If you want someone to genuinely change their behavior, they first need to feel fully accepted by you. A loved heart is a softened heart, but a judged heart, that only hardens.
Ultimately, the advice here is to look way beyond the surface. When someone is incredibly difficult to love, when literally all you can see are their flaws or their pride or their mistakes, try to look a little deeper. Remember that God's image is planted right there within them. We need to love them not for who we desperately want them to be, but because God loves them despite their failings, exactly as He loves us despite ours.
Finally, your next step.
Let's see how all this builds into a real-world blueprint. We've explored these 3 profound pieces of ancient wisdom, but hey, information is only as good as its application, right? So here's your summary, your 3-step action plan. First, practice moderation. Take a hard look at your life, figure out where you're doing too much, and bring it back into balance. Second, build discipline. Stop letting your temporary feelings dictate your actions. Do the right thing consistently until it literally becomes your character. And third, accept others exactly as they are. Stop trying to turn mangoes into apples. Applying these steps will honestly bring so much peace to your heart and drastically improve your relationships.
I want to leave you with this final thought. Take a look at your life today, not tomorrow, but right now. Which of these 3 guides do you actually need the most? Is it moderation? Is it discipline? Or is it acceptance? Identify it and take just one small step toward it today. Thank you so much for joining me on this explainer, and I really hope this ancient wisdom helps you build a truly better life.